6:34 p.m. Manhattan. DEA units stormed the Iranian Consulate, seizing 15 TOS of documents in a coordinated...
Tonight, in an operation that will redefine America's understanding of foreign infiltration, DEA tactical units have breached the Iranian Consulate in New York City. 1834 Eastern Time. 15 tons of documents seized. What agents discovered inside will trigger a complete reassessment of every diplomatic compound operating on American soil. 6:34 p.m. Manhattan, New York. 47th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue. The January cold cut through the city like a blade. Street lamps reflected off ice-slick pavement. Diplomatic vehicles lined the curb outside the 5-story beige building marked only by a small brass plate reading Consulate General of the Islamic Republic of Iran. For decades, this structure existed as sovereign foreign territory in the heart of America's largest city. Protected, untouchable. Tonight, that protection shattered. At exactly 6:34 p.m., four black tactical vans converged from opposing directions. DEA emblems gleamed under streetlights. Behind them rolled FBI mobile command units, Department of Homeland Security assets, U.S. Marshal Service. This wasn't a single-agency operation. This was a coordinated federal assault backed by executive authority flowing directly from the White House. Agents wearing black tactical gear and carrying battering rams exited vehicles in synchronized precision. Pedestrians froze. Traffic stopped. Within 90 seconds, DEA Special Agent Marcus Thornhill stood at the consulate's reinforced front door, holding a federal warrant signed 3 hours earlier by a district court judge. The warrant authorized immediate entry, immediate seizure, immediate suspension of diplomatic immunity under emergency national security protocols. Thornhill pounded once. Federal agents, open the door. 15 seconds of silence. Then the battering ram swung forward. The door exploded inward. Flashbangs detonated in the foyer. Agents flooded through smoke and chaos into what had been, until that moment, Iranian sovereign territory on American concrete. What they found in the first 60 seconds justified every legal risk taken to authorize this raid. If you want to see how deep this infiltration goes, hit like right now. The ground floor appeared standard. Reception desk. Waiting area. Framed photographs of Tehran skyline. Cultural displays. Nothing unusual. But Agent Thornhill's team moved past the facade. They breached the locked administrative wing. Inside the third office on the left corridor, forensic specialists discovered a floor safe concealed beneath a Persian rug. Thermite cutters glowed orange as agents burned through reinforced steel. The safe door fell away. Inside sat something no diplomatic mission should possess: encrypted communication servers connected to satellite uplinks, financial ledgers tracking transactions through 17 shell companies, and surveillance dossiers on 43 American citizens, journalists, congressional staffers, defense contractors, energy executives. But investigators weren't done. The basement revealed operational infrastructure that transformed this consulate from diplomatic outpost into intelligence nerve center. Server racks lined concrete walls. Data cables snaked across ceilings. Industrial shredders designed to destroy hard drives sat near incinerators capable of vaporizing documents in seconds. DEA cyber specialists immediately isolated network access. Within 20 minutes, they began pulling encrypted files from backup systems that hadn't yet been wiped. The volume staggered them. 15 terabytes of data. Communications logs. Financial transactions. Operational directives. Asset lists. One file stopped Agent Thornhill cold. It contained detailed floor plans of 17 critical infrastructure sites across the eastern seaboard, power substations, water treatment facilities, communications hubs. Another file held purchase orders for dual-use chemicals routed through intermediary companies in Malaysia and Turkey. Chemicals that serve legitimate industrial purposes but also serve as precursors for high-grade explosives. The orders totaled 7,000 kilograms, enough to level city blocks. By 7:15 p.m., the operation had expanded beyond the consulate building itself. FBI teams descended on 4 separate locations in Brooklyn, Queens, and New Jersey, addresses flagged in seized documents as coordination sites. Tactical units breached a warehouse in Newark at 7:22 p.m. Inside, agents discovered 37 55-gallon drums labeled as industrial solvents. Field tests revealed something else entirely: precursor compounds for TATP, the explosive compound known as Mother of Satan for its instability and devastating blast radius. Bomb techs immediately established a perimeter. This wasn't evidence collection anymore. This was active threat neutralization. Across the river, in a fifth-floor walk-up in Astoria, Queens, agents found what investigators would later describe as a sleeper cell logistics hub. Forged passports from 6 countries. Prepaid encrypted phones still in packaging. Cash bundles totaling $400,000. But the most chilling discovery sat on a laptop left open in the kitchen. Surveillance photographs of federal buildings, transportation hubs, and crowded public spaces taken within the past 14 days. Each image tagged with timestamps and foot traffic estimates. These weren't reconnaissance photos from months ago. This was active operational planning. Comment betrayed if you're ready to see who enabled this. The investigation's scope expanded with every document translated, every hard drive imaged, every financial ledger decoded. By 9 p.m., forensic accountants working from FBI mobile command units traced money flows that revealed systematic corruption deeper than anyone anticipated. The shell companies weren't just Iranian fronts. They held American partners. Business entities registered in Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming. Corporate officers with American names. Bank accounts at American institutions. The financial architecture demonstrated something terrifying. This operation required domestic collaboration. One transaction chain told the complete story. An Iranian diplomatic account wired $3 million to a consulting firm in McLean, Virginia, 15 miles from CIA headquarters. That firm transferred funds through 3 intermediary companies before money landed in personal accounts belonging to a logistics coordinator for U.S. Customs and Border Protection, not a low-level clerk. A GS-14 official with access to cargo inspection schedules, personnel rotations, and surveillance blind spots at Newark Port Authority. This official didn't just accept bribes. He provided operational intelligence that allowed targeted shipments to bypass inspection protocols completely. DEA investigators pulled his file. Marcus Chun, 18 years with CBP. Exemplary performance reviews. Security clearance renewed 8 months ago. No red flags. No financial irregularities noticed by internal oversight. But seized communications showed Chun had been feeding classified inspection data to Iranian handlers for at least 14 months. In exchange, offshore accounts in his wife's maiden name accumulated deposits totaling $900,000. Chun didn't see himself as a traitor. Encrypted messages revealed his justification. They're just checking on their own shipments. No harm done. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets hurt. That rationalization collapsed when investigators cross-referenced Chan's provided inspection schedules with cargo manifests. 7 shipments flagged by algorithms as high risk had been manually cleared for entry during windows when Chen ensured specific inspectors, ones he knew would rubber stamp paperwork, were on duty. Those 7 shipments contained electronics labeled as commercial telecommunications equipment. Actual contents: sophisticated drone components, encrypted military-grade communication systems, and thermal imaging devices with applications in targeting and surveillance. Equipment now unaccounted for. Equipment somewhere inside the United States. By midnight, federal prosecutors had enough evidence to bring charges that would dismantle the network. But this wasn't about arrests. This was about something far more dangerous. The documents seized from the consulate basement included operational timelines. Phase 1. Establish financial infrastructure. Complete. Phase 2. Recruit key assets in logistics and security positions. Complete. Phase 3. Pre-position materials and personnel. 80% complete. Phase 4. Await activation directive. Phase 4 remained unfulfilled. Activation directive never issued, which meant every asset recruited, every precursor chemical smuggled, every surveillance photograph taken existed as loaded weapons waiting for a trigger. The raid stopped the operation. But how many other networks operated in parallel, undiscovered, approaching their own Phase 4? Type exposed if you want to see who else sold us out. 3 a.m. Federal Plaza, Manhattan. Assistant U.S. Attorney General Rebecca Navarro stood in a secured briefing room reviewing evidence compiled over 8 hours of continuous investigation. The scope overwhelmed her 23 years of prosecutorial experience. This wasn't isolated espionage. This was systematic infiltration of American infrastructure, enabled by American corruption, protected by diplomatic immunity. Navarro made the call that would trigger the next phase: simultaneous nationwide raids targeting every individual and entity flagged in seized communications. At 5 a.m., tactical teams hit 37 locations across 11 states. The logistics coordinator in Virginia, the shell company executives in Delaware, the warehouse operators in California, the financial intermediaries in Texas. Each operation executed with identical precision: breach, secure, seize evidence, arrest targets. Some suspects surrendered immediately. Others destroyed evidence in final desperate acts. One financial broker in Houston managed to wipe servers before agents stopped him. But forensic specialists recovered fragments, enough to build additional conspiracy charges. The most significant arrest occurred not in a warehouse or corporate office, but in a suburban home in Bethesda, Maryland. Dr. Cyrus Ahmadi, a consultant with security clearances allowing access to Department of Energy facilities. His seized laptop contained schematic diagrams of nuclear power plant cooling systems, electrical grid vulnerabilities, and communication protocols for emergency response networks. Ahmadi held dual Iranian-American citizenship. He'd lived in the United States for 32 years. Married to an American, 2 children in college, coached youth soccer, attended neighborhood barbecues, and for 6 years he systematically photographed, documented, and transmitted classified American infrastructure vulnerabilities to Iranian intelligence services operating through the New York Consulate. When agents arrested him at 5:47 a.m., Ahmadi said nothing. He invoked his right to counsel, but his wife spoke. She knew nothing about his activities. She believed he consulted on environmental compliance for energy companies. When agents showed her the evidence, the encrypted communications, the offshore payments, the classified documents hidden in their home office, she collapsed. One agent reported her exact words: "He told me we were building a future for the kids. I didn't know he meant someone else's future." By 8 a.m., federal prosecutors had filed charges against 43 defendants. Conspiracy to commit espionage, material support for foreign intelligence operations, money laundering, firearms trafficking, conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction. The indictment totaled 217 pages. It described an intelligence operation, years in development, millions in funding, dozens of corrupted officials and recruited assets, all coordinated through a consulate that America allowed to operate as sovereign territory in Manhattan. The political implications detonated within hours. Congressional oversight committees demanded briefings. Intelligence agency directors testified in emergency classified sessions. The State Department faced existential questions about diplomatic immunity. How many other consulates operated similar networks? How deep did infiltration reach? What other Phase 4 operations sat waiting for activation? Hit subscribe so you see what happens next. The White House released a statement at noon. It confirmed the raid. It acknowledged the evidence. It announced immediate policy changes regarding diplomatic facilities and foreign intelligence operations on American soil. But it didn't answer the deeper question reverberating through every level of government and security apparatus: how did this happen? The answer lay not in foreign sophistication, but in American complacency. Diplomatic immunity created blind spots. Budget cuts reduced counterintelligence capacity. Bureaucratic boundaries prevented information sharing. And most dangerously, corruption found fertile ground in systems that assumed loyalty could be taken for granted. Marcus Chun didn't wake up one day and decide to betray his country. He made incremental compromises, small justifications, rationalized cooperation, each step easier than the last, until he stood so far from his oath that he couldn't see the line he'd crossed. The judicial process moved with unusual speed. By February, preliminary hearings established sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. Chin faced 73 counts. Ahmadi faced 61. The shell company executives faced financial fraud and conspiracy charges carrying mandatory minimums of 20 years. Defense attorneys argued their clients acted under duress, that Iranian intelligence threatened families still in Iran, that cooperation was coerced. Prosecutors presented the offshore bank accounts, the luxury purchases, the encrypted communications planning vacations with blood money. The coercion argument collapsed under financial evidence. In April, Chin accepted a plea agreement. 40 years federal prison in exchange for full cooperation and testimony against higher-level conspirators. At his allocution, he read a prepared statement. His voice shook. "I told myself it didn't matter, that it was just information, just schedules, just looking the other way. I was wrong. I betrayed everyone who wore this uniform with honor. I betrayed a country that gave my family everything. There's no excuse. There's no justification. There's only shame." Ahmadi went to trial. Federal prosecutors presented the schematic diagrams, the classified access logs, the encrypted communications. They showed the jury photographs of nuclear facilities Ahmadi visited while carrying concealed cameras. They played recorded phone calls in Farsi discussing operational security and dead drop protocols. The defense argued Ahmadi simply documented publicly available information, that his consulting work required understanding infrastructure, that no actual secrets were compromised. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. During sentencing, the judge addressed Ahmadi directly. You lived among us. You shared our communities. You pledged allegiance to our flag. And you systematically worked to undermine the security that protected your own family. The sentence reflects not just the crimes you committed, but the profound betrayal of trust those crimes represent. Share this so people understand how infiltration doesn't announce itself. The seized documents from the consulate continued revealing networks for months. Forensic analysis of servers uncovered communications with operatives in 12 countries. Financial analysis traced funding streams back to Iranian Revolutionary Guard front companies. Counterintelligence operations rolled up assets across North America and Europe. The full scope may never be publicly known. Some investigations remain classified. Some assets remain unidentified. Some networks likely survive, adapted, relocated, waiting. The 15 tons of documents seized that January night sit now in climate-controlled evidence facilities, each page tagged, scanned, analyzed. They represent something more than criminal evidence. They represent a case study in how modern intelligence operations exploit democratic openness, how corruption metastasizes in trusted institutions, how complacency becomes the greatest vulnerability. This story is a fictional dramatization based on geopolitical realities that intelligence professionals grapple with daily. But the operational methods described aren't fantasy. The infiltration techniques are documented in counterintelligence assessments. The corruption patterns mirror actual prosecuted cases. The diplomatic immunity exploits reflect ongoing policy debates. Fiction here serves not as deception, but as illustration of threats too often dismissed as paranoid speculation until evidence forces acknowledgement. The question isn't whether foreign intelligence services attempt to infiltrate American infrastructure. They do. The question isn't whether corruption enables those operations. It does. The real question is whether we maintain the vigilance, resources, and institutional integrity necessary to detect and dismantle these networks before they transition from intelligence gathering to active operations. Before Phase 4 receives its activation directive, power doesn't always announce itself with explosions and invasions. Sometimes it infiltrates quietly, one recruited asset at a time, one compromised official at a time, one forged document at a time. It builds infrastructure in basements beneath diplomatic buildings. It hides behind shell companies with American names. It moves money through banks that ask too few questions. And it waits. Patient, methodical, confident that complacency will provide the openings that force cannot. The raid on the Iranian consulate stopped one network. But networks are hydras. Cut one head, two grow back. The only sustainable defense isn't tactical raids. It's cultural vigilance. Institutional accountability, unwavering commitment to the premise that positions of trust demand trustworthy people. That security clearances aren't permissions, but sacred responsibilities. That compromised officials aren't unlucky mistakes, but systemic failures requiring systemic solutions. One retired counterintelligence officer said it plainly during congressional testimony months after the raid. We're playing defense in a game where offense has unlimited time and unlimited patience. They only need to succeed once. We need to succeed every single time. The math doesn't favor us. The only advantage we have is will. The question is whether we still possess it. Comment vigilant below if you understand what's at stake. The consulate building itself stands empty now, its diplomatic status revoked, its operations terminated. The beige facade looks unchanged. The brass plate removed. The windows dark. Pedestrians walk past without noticing. Just another vacant building in a city of 8 million. But inside those walls, for years, a network operated that could have triggered catastrophic attacks on American infrastructure. Prevented not by sophisticated surveillance technology or advanced algorithmic detection, but by a single executive decision to breach diplomatic immunity and see what lay beneath sovereign protection. That decision saved lives that will never know they were at risk. Disrupted operations that will never be publicly detailed. Stopped attacks that will never appear in history books because they never happened. This is the paradox of successful counterintelligence. The greatest victories are invisible. The highest achievement is nothing happening. Tap like so more people see this story and understand that security isn't built on walls and weapons alone. It's built on people who remember that betrayal wears friendly faces. That infiltration doesn't announce itself with foreign accents and suspicious behavior. That the most dangerous compromises happen incrementally, one small rationalization at a time, until someone stands so far from their oath they can no longer see the line they crossed. The 15 tons of documents seized that night continue telling stories. New revelations emerge monthly. New connections discovered. New investigations launched. The full scope won't be known for years. Perhaps never fully. But what is known stands as warning. Our adversaries are patient, sophisticated, and willing to play long games measured in years and decades. They understand that infiltration works not by overwhelming defenses, but by finding the cracks, exploiting the blind spots, recruiting the disaffected and corruptible, and building infrastructure quietly while attention focuses elsewhere. The question isn't whether they're trying. They are. The question is whether we're watching. Whether we're willing to fund counterintelligence at levels matching the threat. Whether we're prepared to enforce consequences severe enough to deter corruption. Whether we possess the institutional courage to acknowledge that diplomatic niceties sometimes mask operational threats requiring action that risks international friction. January 18, 1834. The night federal agents breached sovereign foreign territory and discovered an intelligence operation that could have killed thousands. The night diplomatic immunity shattered against evidence too damning to ignore. The night America remembered that vigilance isn't paranoia, it's survival. The networks didn't disappear when that consulate closed. They adapted, relocated, found new infrastructure, new assets, new methods. They're operating now, somewhere building toward their own phase 4. The only question is whether we'll discover them at 1834 or at 0 hour, when discovery becomes aftermath instead of prevention, when evidence becomes body counts instead of indictments. The choice isn't between security and freedom. It's between vigilance and vulnerability, between accountability and complacency, between remembering that trust must be earned and assuming loyalty can be inherited. The raid in Manhattan answered those questions decisively. But answers fade, memory dulls, budgets shrink, attention shifts. And somewhere patient adversaries wait for the moment when we forget that the price of security is eternal vigilance, paid not in rhetoric, but in resources, investigations, prosecutions, and the unwavering commitment to the principle that American soil is not a playground for foreign intelligence operations, regardless of what diplomatic plates hang on their doors. The 15 tons of documents sit in evidence rooms, heavy with secrets and warnings. They speak if we're willing to listen. They teach if we're willing to learn. The lesson is simple. Infiltration succeeds when we assume it can't happen here. When we believe our institutions are too strong, our people too loyal, our systems too secure. That assumption is the vulnerability our adversaries exploit. The only defense is to abandon comfortable assumptions and embrace uncomfortable vigilance. Comment awake if you're still paying attention. Share this video so others understand what hides behind diplomatic immunity. Hit subscribe because this story continues, the networks evolve, and the only constant is that somewhere right now, another operation builds toward its own 1834. The question is whether we'll be ready, whether we'll remember, whether we'll act, before Phase 4 receives its activation directive and prevention becomes too late.